the way I came to Islam was through a debate with my friend. So throughout my whole life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I speak too fast, tell me. I'm Chinese, I speak kind of fast. But so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with Muslim friends, I live in Croydon. It's a part of the UK where there's just hella like Bengalis, Somalis, and whatnot. So I was always surrounded by Muslims and they would always give me dawah. But I would never, I would never absorb it. I was ignorant to it. But then what happened was one day I was arguing with my friend and he said to me, he was like, William, that was my carefare name. He was like, William, if you go home and watch this video called The Scientific Miracles of the Quran, and we had this whole argument. I was like, nah, I'm not going to watch it. Nah, you're a donut for believing in God. That's literally what I said to him. And then I went home and I watched the video, but I didn't watch the video to learn from it. I watched the video from an ignorant and prideful perspective. I watched it, I'm going to find the loophole in this video. I'm going to be like, okay, this doesn't make sense and this doesn't make sense. But as we know, subhanAllah, the Quran is a perfect book. There are no flaws in the Quran. So the whole video made sense to me, but I was still full of pride. I still said to myself, like, subhanAllah, I can't make that jump. I'm an atheist. I'm a strong atheist. I can't do it. And then I went on a rabbit hole. I started watching hella videos and it all just kind of made sense to me. And one thing, a big influencing factor was me researching up on the predictions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because so many of them are true. And I thought to myself, I was like, how can a book so full of truth be false? Because if there's all these truths, like the scientific miracles, all these predictions and everything, then the hellfire must be real. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be real. The prophets must be real. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then I was still full of pride. So I'd call my friends all the time and be like, tell me stories about the prophets. And my friend Tarsin, he's the person that I took my shahada with. He would just tell me stories about the Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Yunus, all these amazing stories. Like the story of the Zamzam water, that's the first ever story that I heard. That's the first ever prophet story that I heard. The story of the Zamzam well. So my belief, my iman was already there, but I was so full of pride that I couldn't make the jump. So then I called my friend Tarsin. I was like, yo, Tarsin, I'm ready to become a Muslim, but I can't make the jump yet. And he told me, he was like, just ask God. So I sat down in my mum's room and then I said, God, if you're Allah, if you're real, guide me. Bearing in mind, the Kaaba's that way and I'm looking that way. I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was like, God, if you're real, guide me. And I left it at that. And then a week later, I got a sign. And I'll never tell anyone that sign. Maybe like not even my own mother. Maybe I might tell my wife. I might tell my kids. I don't know. But that sign is between me and God. And ever since the sign happened, my iman can never be broken. And yeah, that's the story really. And then I can tell you another story about how my name is Rakim. When I took my shahada, my name was originally going to be Abdul Rahim. I was like, cool, Abdul Rahim, merciful, etc. And then what happened was I took my shahada and then some guy came up to me and he was like, what's your name? And I was like, Abdul Rahim. But he thought I said Abdul Rakim and he was like, Rakim. And I was like, yeah, that's my name, Rakim. Our podcast was last year, right? It was last year. So throughout, I feel like when we done the podcast, I wasn't as developed as I am Islamically. Because, back then I still didn't know the Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin. I still didn't know that. And that's just one example. But I feel like from that time period to the present, I feel like I've developed a lot in the sense of I've learned so much and I've been through a lot. Allah has put me through hardship, which is that's obviously going to happen. And I feel like with those experiences, especially going Umrah, like I feel like Umrah changed my life. But especially going Umrah, like everything in my life. And okay, if I'm going on a tangent, tell me. I just, I always go on tangents, but
you're good, bro. No worries, inshallah. Go for
everything in my life, like I've just been thinking a lot throughout this last year, and I just thought to myself, everything in my life has led up to this moment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guiding me. So Allah has always been there in my life, and I came to that realization like 3 months ago, because every small action I've taken in school and every small action I've done and every time I've helped someone out, that's been God there for me, But a year ago, I didn't know that. I thought, God is, I've just found God. But no, you know, he's always been there for me. I feel like I'm waffling so much all my days. But yeah, that's how I kind of developed, if that makes sense.
So you mentioned that there were some hardships that you had to face that helped you develop.
Yeah.
Is it too personal if I ask what kind of hardships, like generally speaking?
Hardships of, you know, grief, you know, the loss of a loved one and loss of people around me. But when I look at it, you know, from an outsider's perspective and I remove the emotion from it, it was all for the better, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, sorry, go on.
No, please finish.
Because at the end of the day, even though I lost someone very dear to me, that, you know, that only strengthened my iman. You know, the person wasn't Muslim, but that only strengthened my iman. At the end of the day, the realization that I came to was, this is just the dunya, you know? Like, anything that strengthens your iman, anything that does anything for you to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a blessing, you know? And that's what I mean by I went through hardship. Not like crazy stuff. Like, I didn't like climb a mountain or something. I didn't like get my legs chopped off, but you know, it was more just within myself and me critically thinking about, you know, situations and whatnot. I feel like that's why Allah put me in that situation, because like right now, you know, Allah says the way you view him is how he is. And right now I view Allah as the most loving person, the most merciful person, and the provider, the protector. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think I would be at this stage of my Islamic development if it wasn't from going through that stage of grief. Because I've never grieved before. This is the first time I've experienced it. Yeah. And it was tough. I'll be honest with you, because I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know what to do. So I looked for, you know, really bad stuff I coped in a very negative way. But I never found fulfillment. I only found fulfillment in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the hardship was a blessing.
Yeah,
you know?
And it looks like after the hardship there was some ease when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with the Umrah. So why don't you tell us about how that happened?
So me going Umrah was so crazy. Okay, I had a dream that I went Umrah in, like, I can't even remember, but I had a dream I went Umrah. And I woke up and I made a video. I was like, okay, yo, I just had a dream I'm going Umrah. This is my Umrah arc. And then the next week I made dua. I was like, Allah, guide me to Umrah. Like, Allah, I'm trying to go Umrah. And then literally the next week, some guy messaged me and was like, are you trying to go Umrah? And I was like, what? Yes? Are you crazy? Like, what? But going Umrah was one of the crazy, like the most profound experiences I've ever felt. Like, not pity, but I feel sorry for the non-Muslims that will never be able to feel that. The level of faith, the level of iman, the level of trust that I felt in Umrah. Because when you see, have you not been Umrah, by the way?
Yeah.
When you see the Kaaba in front of you, it's kind of like everything, that's it. You realize that this world is temporary. You realize that nothing really matters. And all of our problems are just on this one rock called the dunya that Allah made and Allah's testing us on. And the only thing that matters is what's in front of you, and that's the Kaaba, and that's worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's how that, you know, it was amazing. But do you guys prefer Medina or Mecca? Because I prefer Medina.
Bro, I swear to God, I was just thinking about this. I was just thinking about how every single time someone goes to Mecca and Medina, they talk about how their experience was in Mecca. For me, I felt like a weirdo for like the last year or so, because it was always Medina that stood out the most. It was always Medina that made me cry the most. But why don't you talk a bit about why you felt that way?
Okay, me and my friend's mother, shout out Auntie Fozia, but she told me that she teaches me Quran, by the way, but she told me that when you first see the Kaaba, Allahu Alam, I don't know how true this is, but she told me when you first see the Kaaba, the first ever dua you make will come true. And obviously, you know, my parents aren't Muslim, and there's nothing more I want for them to be Muslim. So when I saw the Kaaba for the first time, wait, what was the question again, sorry?
Just keep going, bro. You're good, man.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going, bro. Keep rolling.
So when I went to see the Kaaba for the first time, I made the dua. And bearing in mind, I don't really cry. I don't really shed tears. I do shed tears here and there. Like, I'm an emotional person, but I don't really cry per se. But when I first saw the Kaaba and I asked Allah to guide my parents to Islam, I couldn't hold it in. Like, I just cried for like 30 minutes. And like, it was hella awkward because there was just hella people around me watching me cry. So I just felt hella awkward and stuff.
Wow.
But yeah,
wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And Medina, the Prophet's Mosque. Oh, bro, it's actually so amazing. Oh my gosh.
So what about that? What about that stood out to you in Medina?
In Medina, nothing physically stood out to me. Well, obviously the mosque is grand and all these, but nothing. It was more of the spiritual side of it, because I felt so much peace and so much fulfillment being, in this, being present in Medina and being present where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and especially in Masjid Nabawi, which is the Prophet's mosque, for anyone who doesn't know. But it was just a city of peace. Like you can only explain it unless you've been there. Because when you go Mecca, like everyone's like, it's like WWE. Everyone's fighting to go to the Kaaba. Everyone's pulling each other. Alhamdulillah, that's just how it is. But when you go to Medina, it's kind of just like everyone just lowers it down. Everyone's just relaxed. Everyone's got a smile on their face. The food's nice. People are nice. The weather's nice. Everyone's praying. So it was just amazing, and I just met so many amazing people, like especially Pakistanis. I love Pakistanis. Once they saw me, they would always tell me, "Oh, are you from China?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they would just always give me a gift. Like I've got, I don't know what my pouch is, but in my pouch, I have this one compartment of all the gifts that people, especially Pakistanis, they gave me. Like they gave me like Testbir, they gave me Qurans, they gave me everything just because, I was a Muslim and I was Chinese. And it was just that brotherhood that I adored. And that's one of the reasons why I love Islam. One of the reasons why I'm so proud to be a Muslim is because of the brotherhood. Because at the end of the day, I don't think you can find this brotherhood anywhere unless like you're in a tribe in like the village of China.
يا دعاة رب السماء يا من صنعتم في الأرض نورا يا قلوبا فيها الوفاء بشركم اليوم السرورا